Welcome to another episode of You Can Feel It All Over. My guest here today is one of my bandmates and good friend, Miss Kara Elizabeth Kaiser. Cheers. Welcome aboard. So what's new in Kara's world?
I just got back from living in a blue school bus.
Nice.
That's probably the most exciting thing that's happened to me these past couple weeks. I tend to work on farms across the United States when basically I want to spread my music to other places. And it's a good place to stay for cheap, get good food that they give to you basically just for work trade. Woof USA.
Woof.
Worldwide opportunities on organic farms.
That's good. If someone's watching this, where can they go to get information about that?
I think, well, it's worldwide, so there's, I think woof.net is just like the worldwide one, but on woof.net there's links to like United States, Canada. Unfortunately, Europe, you have to buy your passes like separate, but you have like Woof France, Germany.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like an international thing.
Yeah, it is. That's why I'm
That's
stoked
cool.
about it, because I want to travel with it. And I also just want to like establish more relationships with farms for like if I ever go on tour in the United States. That way I don't have to sleep on couches and have couches bail on me because I'm a young female. You never know. Could be dangerous.
Could be dangerous. That's right. That's cool. I didn't know that. So part of the idea of woofing for you is kind of like the networking piece too, like.
Yeah, and meeting other musicians, because for some reason farmers, like, I mean, you're a homestead. I wouldn't say it's like a farm here, but like you have bees, chickens, like people that are artsy tend to, I feel like, tune into that kind of stuff, like using their art for environmental wellness or just like your own wellness. Like, I mean, you probably put that honey from your bees in your espresso, or, you know, like you consume whatever you're growing. And
There is actually no honey from the bees in this espresso.
there might be in this coffee.
I have a little bit of honey left from last year, and I'm saving that for Bluegrass Festival season. So instead of staying up all night and drinking whiskey, I stay up all night. I call it dabbing honey. And I'm like, hey, you want a dab of this? And people are like, dab? It's not quite the dab they think it's going to be.
Right?
Yeah,
Wait.
well, that's an interesting thing, too. Why do you think it is? What do you think the connection is between artisty type folks and farming and gardening and the wonderful world of nature? What do you think? What is it for you?
For me, like, well, first of all, if you're like an artist and you're public about your art, or a musician or whatever, like, you tend to spend a lot of time on social media, so going out into nature, like living in a bus where there's not a lot of service is nice for me to take a break and like not have to worry about posting. And like, I am not a people pleaser. Like, I want to be self-sufficient and independent. That's why I'm an independent like artist. I'm a solo artist, so like I want to be able to grow all my own food, be able to like, I mean, kind of separate myself. I'm kind of the interpreter of society through my art, so I don't really want to be consumed in it all the time. That's why I like going out on the road into nature, or, you know, just kind of disappearing for periods of my life, because I've never felt like I've been able to stay in one place. I'm kind of a vagabond, so it's very fitting that I'm a musician, because it's a perfect like puzzle piece, I guess, for me, because I don't really want to stay one place ever.
Yeah.
And I never have. And I've always been a musician, but I've never been able to like hit the road.
Yeah.
Until recently,
But the woofing gives you the opportunity to be able to, eat well, because life on the road, I've definitely had good fair share of some like little small level national touring stuff and just hitchhiking and traveling around. It's not the easiest. So woofing is nice. Imagine it's nice too to have a place to recharge the batteries.
Yep, you have that support.
Yeah, tune into nature. The sounds, I always kind of think of it as like tomorrow I'm gonna go inspect some of the beehives to make sure that like queen's laying her eggs and everything's good. It's always to me this amazing process of like the mental chatter that's going on in my head of thinking about, I want to practice this, I need to work on this, I want to do this. And then I'm like, I'm just going to go out there real quick and do the bee thing. But then all of a sudden, like, the music of nature takes over and it's like, oh, the birds are chirping. Oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, like, this, it's such a cool thing just to relax. And then I think for me, a big part of it is just like, this probably sounds really corny, but just being connected to the bigger picture and realizing that, like, I'm super small.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, seeing myself a part of everything, you know, which is such a hard thing, I think, more and more as I keep developing. And that's another topic, I guess. But feeling connected to the bigger picture of life, you know, being a part of it as opposed to separate from it.
Well, with your music, do you, like, channel that? Because I feel like, for me, a lot of the time, like, when I write, it's not necessarily coming from me. Like, I feel like I'm channeling some type of bigger picture. I feel like I'm channeling some sort of spirituality or some other life essence that I'm tuning into, or I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't it feels surreal to me, like when someone's like, oh, how do you write a song? Like, I just create because I just get this rush of like energy and it just like happens, and I feel like I'm not, like, I don't get all that credit. Like, there's something else out there, like, in the bigger picture that's influencing, that needs the credit, but, like, it's not tangible. So it's like, how do you
I know what you mean.
express that?
Yeah, sometimes I know, I think I know what you mean. I mean, it's probably personal. It's different for everybody, but I know sometimes for me, there's always, like, the self-doubt stuff that comes, like, if we're playing a song and I'm doing the bow thing, I'm always like, there's, like, the self-doubt, but then a lot of times I get to this thing where I'm like, well, if I just get out of my own way and let whatever's coming in, like the trust of the practice, that, like, then I can, like, be free to express myself. So a lot of times it's that, for me, it's like we're playing a song, and so you know what's going on through my head. And I'm like, okay, my break's coming up, you know, I'll think about kind of where I want to start. But then if the insecurity stuff starts to happen, I'm like, just let that stuff go and let wherever it comes from channel through and just let it, you know.
Well, that's what we were talking about when, like, I was talking about, like, how I felt a little bit blocked right now in the studio. Because we were talking about, like, the balance between wanting to have structure and, I guess, like, expectation for your music, because you want to practice it, you want it to sound good in the studio, but also not letting that perfectionism go too far and take over the creativity. It's kind of similar to, like, that. That's kind of what it reminded me of. But
I think that's 100% right on, yeah. It's always, like, that balance of, like, I can only do what I can do. And, you know, for me a lot as I get older, I was plagued by the perfectionism thing for a long time. And I know everyone looks at this and they think, well, dude, it's just perfect. But it's not. And I know that. It's like this little pun I tell the kids in my counseling office. I'm like, I know you look at this and you think perfection, but it's really not. It's flawed in every way. But I think about that a lot. Whereas how to kind of just be like, well, I can only do what I can do. You know? And the more they relax, the better it sounds. It's weird.
Yeah,
I've learned to trust that a lot, you know? And a lot of that's from just bringing with the beauty of modern technology, like bringing my phone and being like, no, it sounds so funny, but being like, all right, because music to me is like you're creating like this live art. You're being expressive right in the moment. And even if things, like I like to have things arranged, but you're still putting a lot of emotion into those moments. And then what I always think is cool with the phone that helps me out is to realize that, like, people inherently can't hear my thoughts unless they're, what would it be, like telekinetic or something, you know, or they can read minds or whatever. But they don't know the insecurities and the thoughts that I'm having.
Right. Unless you express it.
Yeah.
Your emotions.
So it's nice to record it and then listen to it and be like, oh, cool, that part, I was worried that, like, it sounded like my intonation was really off. But when I'm listening to the whole thing with myself removed and being objective about it, I'm like, it doesn't sound that bad.
Right.
You know?
You're your own worst critic.
Yeah.
And it's true because a lot of the time you will have really strong emotions when you sing or perform. For me, it's mainly just in the studio for some reason. Like I'll be overwhelmed with certain things, like for more like negative things. But I feel like the presence of having strong emotions in the writing connects to like other strong emotions that could be negative. But like if you're very, very passionate about your music, it's easier to swing one way or the other. Like most musicians that I know are not, they don't really think like as balanced. They're more like black and white thinkers, or like they experience things that are very extreme. Like for me, I know that I write my music when I'm feeling like very sad or super super happy or like in love, like head over heels. Like I'm not in a normal headspace.
Yeah, there's some emotional
when I write
thing.
music. Yeah.
So songwriting based off emotional triggering.
Yeah, basically. And I wonder like if there is a connection as far as like psychology
Yeah.
between the two, because most like musicians that I know are super emotional, or like also just the neuroscience behind music is really interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why I love my day job too.
Right.
As a middle school counselor, because I'm wired in a weird way, and it took me a long way I mean not weird, but we're all like wired in certain ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what I realize is I always make these connections. I'm always looking to make connections across different things, and then try to blending stuff. And the counseling is really cool because, you know, it really gives me the ability to listen, make me a better listener, which you need when you're any musician, you know.
Right.
But super helpful as a bass player. But also like I can learn more about psychology, and like we were just talking about, like just being able to relax and let stuff come out.
Right.
As opposed to trying to force something. Understanding the mind better, for me at least, it's like helped me relax a lot.
Yeah.
And then just regaining trust in life and processes, you know.
So you take your own counseling skills and kind of transfer them into your own life outside of your job as well.
Yeah. Like even, you know, and there's things you learn where like it's cool you brought the black and white thinking, because I think I'm like, how do we live in the gray? I mean, for me, the big thing is like, how do I live in the gray?
Right.
Acknowledging the black and white thinking, that things, you know, on one hand, I think we get caught in this trap of like, if we have too high expectations, it's like things need to be this way, right? It's either but inherently they're not. I mean, here's a goofy little psychological thing. So the table here, this is the Mother's Day edition. This is all stuff I put up here as a tribute to my mom. And each episode I try to change the trinkets to something meaningful. And part of that for me is that like each day, technically we wake up and it's a day. But each day is different. But we're all in these patterns. Like Monday through Friday, I get up around the same time, go to work, travel the same path. But what happens in those days is different. You know what I mean? But I think when we all want to be comfortable, but we all have to be prepared for the daily stuff that just arises in life, that throws for curves, you know?
Breaks the routine.
Yeah. So even for me, little things like this, like help me be like, oh yeah, we're doing another episode, but it's a different thing. It's unique.
Right.
You know?
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, everyone's unique too, and like part of what I want to do with my music is kind of acknowledge that people are going through different struggles, and like that we don't need to compare each other's struggles, because everyone, you know,
it's all different.
It's all different, and we're not going to minimize one thing because another thing is just a little different. And that's part of why I'm creating my music and attempting to basically, I would say, I guess, donate one of the songs on my EP to mental health programs. Just kind of, because I didn't know that when I was a teenager. Like I didn't have that, it's like a certain developmental term. It's like egocentrism or something.
Yeah, egocentric.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like basically I didn't have the understanding of like other people were also struggling, and I just want to be able to like help teenagers, because I know a lot of teenagers that haven't been able to make it through those feelings. And luckily I had music to bring me out of certain struggles. But some of my friends didn't, and that's why I'm donating like all my whole album plus my friend's album that I was just on. Um, all of our songs are actually written somewhat from a perspective of like people dying, like young people, like people our age or like teenagers. So yeah, it's gonna be a process because I still have to find the organizations, but I have like 3 in mind so far, which is good.
I think that's great. And I think I have a lot of respect for you because I think I don't really like to think of things as ageism and all that. But being younger and being so motivated, it reminds me a lot of myself and the drive that I still have, and just it's easy as as a musician or a creative person to be selfish with time and to make it about you, but it's something else when you're like, there's a bigger thing, and it seems like to me, and I could be wrong, like you feel connected and have more of a purpose to something else, and I think that's super cool.
Well, I do special needs music, and also I've been studying psychology for 4 years, so I don't want to like just give up on psychology because I'm a 5-year student or whatever in college.
Yeah, it's a lifelong study.
I know, like, exactly, yeah, and I want to be able to connect the two, but I'm not at the point where, like, I could be a counselor, because I'm not motivated enough, like, in that sense quite yet. So, like, what I want to do with psychology is, like, run the music route first, which is, like, donating to places, like, promoting music events using, like, psychology and marketing, and then kind of see, because I'm going to get worn out fast on the music industry, then kind of see if I can go that route where I go to grad school. And
that stuff, don't you feel like it? I mean, I'm a middle school counselor, and some of the kids sometimes, just honesty, being like, I'm going to be, I think some of it is, you just don't know. Like, I never would have thought, at 21, I was living on an organic farm in Vermont.
Yeah, I know, it's so
camping
weird.
In the middle of nowhere.
We're like the same.
I dropped out of high school. I would have never thought.
Yeah, right?
If you would have told me this is what I would be doing in 20 years, I would have been like, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. But
yeah, I can't picture myself being that, like, 40.
I know. It happens pretty... I can't picture myself being in my 60s, but I know that's going to be like this.
Oh, frig.
But, yeah, no, it's really interesting. I think if you just follow what you love to do, things just kind of work out.
It manifests in itself, like... And just like we were talking about earlier, I feel like with music, the opportunities are very black and white as well, for me at least. Like, I'll have a gig and I'm like, that was so cool. Everyone was listening. Like, I felt really good about how I performed. Then the next time it's like, no one was there.
No one was there.
No one cared. All they wanted to do was drink their IPA.
Talk louder than the music.
And, show off their beer.
Yeah, I feel that too, because sometimes I think it's hard. It depends on the project. I think like with something, when I'm playing with you, there's a sense of like, there's a lot of original music. So there's a sense of like, even for me, I'm like, I feel like I'm trying to, hopefully this is what I do, I'm trying to add some color and some texture and something nice to kind of like spice in a tomato sauce, like make it, I know it's a really bad analogy, but to add a little flavor to it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And help it stand out. So it is a little frustrating but that's kind of the deal with a brewery gig versus like, there are sometimes there could be 3 people there in another project. And I've definitely been in this situation where, musicians are frustrated, but I'm like, you know what, if I'm looking out and I see someone like tapping their hand while we're playing,
that's awesome.
I know they're listening, or they're feeling like the groove.
Right.
And that's cool, but I think that's a little different when you're trying to present like playing a night of Grateful Dead tunes where you're just really just background music versus like singer-songwriter stuff. And other singer-songwriters I get to play with, I feel like there's a sense of you're trying to showcase something that's, versus like, let's play Friend of the Devil.
That's half the time. That's why like half the time I just like don't, like I'll just read my audience and I'm like, well, I could be a people pleaser right now, but I don't really care. Or like maybe I do care and I want to show people like what they want to hear, and that's fine because I actually enjoy it too. But if it's just like they want to hear something and I do not feeling it, like I won't do it. Like a lot of people will send me requests and like sometimes I'll do it, but like I don't really try to plan my performances, at least my live performances, because of what we were talking about. Like I don't want to put an expectation on that, because then that way if I'm doing it live I can be like just super into like whatever's going on, like and like whatever I pick up on, and then if that matches the crowd then that's fine, and if it doesn't then it's like, well, better luck next time. But like half the time I'll just be like, hit an improv, I'll be like, hit the bass,
let's do this,
and then like, and I actually got inspired by Sunny the Flower. She's a DJ and a singer, one of my really good friends. She inspired me to do that kind of stuff, like just improv and more like bluesy, jazzy funk stuff. And then also I try to like dabble with electronic music. I try to dabble with it all, because like if I am going to be in this industry where I have to like make people enjoy things, and you know, I'm the product essentially. Like I want to have
creating a product,
multi-layers and multi-facets to, well, one, my personality, and two, my music and what I create, I guess, and what I'm capable of doing with collaborations. Like I collaborate with as many people as I can, because I've found that, I mean, it's easiest to, I guess, find people that care that are also in the music community, like whether that be, you know, someone that works at the coffee shop or whatever, or someone that's booking the festivals, or your friend that's just learning the guitar, or like whatever it might be.
Well, maybe is this, I could be wrong, so tell me if I am, but I saw the Avengers Endgame 2 weeks ago.
I didn't.
And of course, well, you know, of course I stayed for like the end credits to see if there was like a post-credit scene. And what I realized when I was watching the credits was like, and I think about this where I work at school, I think about this in music more and more, is like how much a team effort everything is. Like I'm watching the credits and I'm like, holy crap, like all these people to create, you know, we see like the final product, like the actors and like, you know, the CGI effects and all that jazz. But then you think about the bigger picture, and more I really, as I get, I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is, but more and more I think about that in my job, and I think about that with people I connect with musically in general. Like I'm like, man, it's just so cool. Like all these different, it takes really a village in anything you do to make stuff work. You know what I mean? And it's so cool.
Really all it is one person. Like one person could share your photo, or one person could hear you at an open mic. Like I was heard at an open mic at Front Range Brewing in Lafayette, Colorado, like a year ago, and they gave me the hope to say, you know, you can tour, you can do this like as a profession. And I'd played like parties before, like when I was younger with like my old band, but I'd never done something like that. So yeah, like just that community, and then like even like my family, obviously, like there's all these people, and then like the people that you write your songs about, which can also be awkward, because like I don't know if you get this, but like if you're playing, like I hate playing in front of people that know who the song is about, or like because like I'm okay with being vulnerable in front of like strangers or like people that know me like just as a musician, but if they know me like outside my music and they're like, that's that song about someone or that situation, and then it's like I feel targeted.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean, I think you put it out there, it's good. For me, I like to like create my own meaning of things, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a song, My Buddy, it's a jazz standard, and it's like about, it always reminds me of my mom. But I think it's a love song, but I'm like, I don't know, like to me the meaning is like when I hear it, the feeling I get, the memories I get, you know, about my mom, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, but you know. But like giving giving people their own ability to interpret.
That's true.
The meaning.
It's just cool. Like a dream.
Even if it's about, so maybe strangers, they can, because we interpret. I think we all interpret things in our own way. But I don't know. That's
why I try to make songs that are like relatable, or like that do have like dreamlike imagery and stuff like that, or just like really random. Like my latest song that I wrote in the bus is about an alien being on Earth, but like looking up and remembering their time like on their star. However, their star like died and they had to escape to Earth. And then like since the star is so far away and that there's so many light years between the Earth and that star, it could actually see the Earth dying, and it was remembering its time when it had to escape its universe and come to our universe. So sometimes my songs are like, oh my God, I'm really sad because I have a crush on somebody and like I'm gonna get rejected. And then other times it's like, I'm a fucking alien.
And I can see my planet supernovaing as a star and I'm sad. But someone, even that, like, people can interpret it their own way,
Yeah.
It's the emotion behind it. Well, what do you think? This might be a good time to play a tune together, or if you want to play a song, let's.
Sure. I've been down in the Southwest for some time. Well, I've been down in the Southwest for some time. They hold on my baby, they wanna take him from my side. That's got me stressing on my mind. That's got me stressing on my mind. I go down to Mexico, feeling fine. They took my baby away. They took my baby away. Way down south, and he's there to stay. Now it's got me singing the blues. Now it's got me screaming. I don't know what to do, yeah. I go to California for all my climbing shoes.
Well, I'm curious about some, like, how you got started in music or some of your influences and stuff.
So my whole musical background started when I was 8. I learned the classical piano, but then I got really bored, and my parents, I think, had bought me a piano at that point, so they were kind of like those like typical like suburban parents that were like, come on, learn an instrument, like.
Any road dad?
Not my dad, maybe more like
Yoga
my
mom?
mom. Well, my mom's very intellectual, and she saw that I had a gift, and like, reading music and classical music is kind of like that more left brain type thing that goes on. Like, I don't even actually know how to read music anymore, or like I forget. Like, I could probably pick it up real fast if I wanted to, but like I'm trying to learn more theory by ear and by patterns and such, like, instead. So I actually just broke off from classical because I got bored. And like that tends to just happen a lot. Like, if I'm not being creative anywhere, like I will get bored and randomly decide to live in a bus and then reset and then like that just tends to happen because I'll get impulsive. But yeah, it's happened. I mean, even when I was a kid, I was impulsive. Like, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, screw this. I want to write my own music. So I ended up working with this teacher named Bob Wiz, and he's still a teacher, and he helped me record my own music that I wrote on the piano and kind of just learn more pop songs and kind of drift away from this is what the piano is and this is like these are the notes you need to figure out and read and practice. And he was just more like, you do what you want to do with music. It's not going to be this structured learn the numbers, learn the math. Like, if I'm good at math and I enjoy math, like that's I love cool. Statistics.
Nice.
And I love like research. And so that all that stuff came naturally to me. It just wasn't like I have to be that like kind of person, like to like be successful. I need to be able to fully immerse myself, like, I guess emotionally. Like, I was very successful in high school, but I also dropped out of high school because I was not like enjoying class. Like, I wouldn't go to class at all, but I had a 3.6. So that kind of says something as far as like my music too. It's like I didn't care about the math until I started writing my own songs and being creative and learning the different tone colors and just like experimenting with all that stuff on my own.
Without someone telling you?
Yeah, I mean, like, he guided me and he helped me learn, but like he wasn't like, you need to like read this book and read a chapter every night and figure out the notes and like figure out the patterns between the notes. Like, that all just came because I was passionate about it. So
hell yeah, that's cool. Who are some of your like, because I know I think the first time I heard you play at the coffee shop, the open mic, you did the old Etta James mashup. So who are your, and I love all that old school R&B. Who are some of your favorite singers or people you listen to and like?
As far as like soul music, I would say like Nina Simone, Etta James, Aretha Franklin. I have yet to see that movie, but I really want to see her new film.
It's amazing. I saw it.
Yeah. I don't know who else, like Bill Withers.
Yeah. Cheers to Bill.
Right,
and Aretha. Dude, if anyone gets a chance to see the Aretha Franklin Amazing Grace documentary sort of movie, it is amazing.
As far as like folk music, definitely Gillian Welch. And I don't know, like Wagon Wheel, just kidding, Old Crow Medicine Show.
A little Wagon Wheel.
And
tip of the hat to Old Wagon Wheel, everyone's favorite.
Angelina Baker.
The most requested song of all time.
For bluegrass, Angelina Baker, even though I don't know any other song.
That's funny. That's good. That's good.
I'm trying to think of other genres. Like funk, maybe the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees, yeah. I love the Bee Gees. The Gibb Brothers.
And Bruno Mars and like obviously Michael Jackson. People have told me, yeah, like through my whole life, like, oh, you should be on The Voice and stuff like that. And like, I just don't want that kind of attention. like when I see stories like that and like the way that the media distorts women in the music industry, and just like I want to get to the point where I can like make somewhat of a living, like at least a side living like on my music and tour and stuff, but I don't ever want to like move to Los Angeles. Like I would move to Nashville before I'd move to Los Angeles, honestly. So, I just think, like you were asking me earlier about being a young woman and like looking to my future, and like if I were to stay on this path for a while, like I see a lot of young women like using their body to sell their music, and that's like very empowering and I respect it. However, I feel like I would be too traumatized if I did that myself. Like it's a little bit sketchy. Even like when I just pack up my bags and live out of my car and decide to like go to California and like tour up at the wineries and stuff, like even stuff like that can be really sketchy, like especially with couches, because I've had couches bail or like creepy people offer me couches. It's not easy to start out here and like tour where I'm at here, but I also don't want to like be like Lady Gaga. Like I'd rather have the struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I've chosen to live out of my car a lot
Yeah.
of times. So, like, that says something. Like, it's just more minimalist. It's easier to focus on my art and less on, like, people's perceptions of my music. Because since I am the product, there's a lot of psychology, like we were talking about, involved. There's a lot of psychology. Like, with like, visual art, it's like, this is my product.
Here it is.
Yeah. Like, you can buy it for whatever. Like, for me, it's like this whole multi-facet, I guess, just like a whole rainbow of different assorted characteristics that I need to follow or present, and then also just like be natural about too, like, because I'm not gonna like fake being somebody just so that people will like my art or my music. Like half the time, like at this point, now that I'm like making music and creating and being on people's albums and playing every weekend, like I don't really give people the time of day that don't care about my music anymore. Like it's kind of sad, but like I'm starting to like drop off a lot of people that like aren't interested, because this is my entire life. Like I don't right now, like I can't see myself in like 10 years. Like I can see myself in 5 years though, and I'm still gonna be writing music. Like this is all that I care about, really. Like I'm so like tunnel visioned about it.
That's good.
That it's motivating, but it's also like a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But that's okay. Like I like being overwhelmed, but just not too overwhelmed to the point where I'm like,
so you shut down.
my God, like I'm gonna go. Never mind. Inappropriate. We talked about this. We're not gonna talk about inappropriate. Beep. We're not talking about inappropriate stuff on the show.
As long as I'm appropriate, I think that's what matters. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I don't think that, this is what we were talking about earlier, even for me, it's like, I don't think you can, I think it's really good to follow what you love to do, and then just see, things just happen. You know what I mean? It's not like, I don't think things are as planned out. I think it's just a matter of like, and then even for me, I know at like 41, I'll be 42 on Friday. That's crazy. I never thought that like I'd still like, I never thought that I'd still be super psyched to wake up and work on all this music. Like even just like practicing and doing all this stuff, like, but I didn't really think about it then either. Like, you know what I mean? And like, even when it's not like I'm thinking about like, I hope I'm doing this when I'm 60. It's like, you just live in the moment.
You just follow your intuition.
Yeah, and you do that. And even like when people, one of my good friends, I remember years, this is probably 20 years ago, you know, most people were going to college. I was like hitchhiking cross country and doing all sorts of fun stuff. And, you know, I remember one of my buddies like, well, sometimes, you know, when we follow our heart, it doesn't always have a big payday. And I'm like, well, you know, and I always think about that now. It's like, you know, I'm pretty comfortable being a single dude, working my job and playing music. But if I had like, you know, family, I don't know what that would look like. But, but I'm doing all right.
Well,
You
we
know what I
only
mean?
have
Like
one life, and I
yeah.
mean, you're living intentionally, and that's really all that
That's all you can
matters.
do, Like sometimes my brain gets the better of me even. I'm like, well, what else is there to do? It's not
right?
like
Yeah.
it's not like I'm just chilling on a couch watching Netflix series and if you're doing that, that's cool.
I am.
Like, I mean, I watch The Walking Dead and American Horror Story, but I try to limit my consumption of TV. But, sometimes you just have to relax and reset the brain. I have to.
I just journal, like, if I don't want to, like, do electronic stuff, like, because half the time when I just journal, like, my mind is racing 95% of the time. And if I can just write it all down.
Get it out.
I end up, like, writing, like, 5 songs in, like, 2 days. It's awesome.
That is cool, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll just be like, oh, man, I'm done now for the next couple months. And then it'll just, like, happen again.
Like, I kind of from what you're saying, I kind of get the idea, I think, how it works for you. But is there any sort of, I don't know what to say, like, method to the madness for you for songwriting? Or is it just kind of like, do you sit down sometimes and just try to write even if you're not inspired? Or usually do you get something in your head? Like, what's it like for you?
It's just spiritual for me. A lot of it has to do with my purpose here, which is music and spreading a message and also.
Well, cool. Another thing that I really think is cool about you is like your passion for activism and stuff. You want to speak a little about?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm privileged to play music. I'm privileged to have a microphone. Even now, like, not everyone gets to talk and gets people to pay attention and potentially, like, gets to influence them. So I figure, being an independent person as I am already, like we talked about earlier, like, I may as well use my voice for people, like, outside of my perspective, like, intersectional perspectives. My student just the other
That's
day.
a big word.
Intersectional?
Perspective, yeah. That's good.
Well, yeah. Point of view, perspective. My student the other day, like, she has a different perspective than me because she's going to school and there are people there that could threaten her life, school shooters. So, like, she wrote a song called Heartless and the lyrics are, why do you have to be so heartless? Why do you have to be so rude? And it's basically about, like, what drives the decision for Americans to just go into schools and shoot kids. Because it's just, like, and that's part of, like, the mental health thing is, like, those kinds of people stigmatize mental health because mental health is, like, this huge umbrella.
Spectrum, yeah.
Yeah, like, it includes so many things. Someone with social anxieties doesn't have the same issue as, like, a sociopath that doesn't have any impulse control and goes into a school that shoots someone. Like, so there's that level of activism with, like, the mental health, obviously, and then everything kind of stemmed from that, like, because I've always been a mental health advocate. Ever since, like, I did lose my friends because I lost them to suicide, and that, like I said earlier, is the whole reason that I'm creating the album. So when my first friend died, I was 16, and I went into middle schools, and I did presentations with this group called Coley's Closet in Boulder, and we just went in to, like, health classes and said, this is the warning sign, like, this is what depression is. Like, depression's hard to point out. It's hard to figure it out, like, what it looks like because it looks different in everyone. And, so it all started kind of from there. And then it kind of has just been, like, shit that's happened to me that I've found kind of influences everyone else. Like, because with environmental activism, which I'm also very passionate about, I found, like, my own diet and my own, like, personal, like, health issues since I have celiac disease, that's helped open up this window, and it's not like, I play victim a lot, and I need to, like, sometimes step outside of the victim perspective and be like, what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
Because I've become very environmentally conscious. I've gotten involved with woofing. I came back and started to become a professional musician because I was sick. I would still be in college right now and not be pursuing this dream, that I didn't even really know was my dream until I started doing it.
Yeah.
Like, so that's really cool because my diet and how I eat affects like everything else, because if I eat a certain way, you know, I'm supporting local farmers who are who are gonna put less of a carbon footprint than like
mass
industries. So I'm not buying that processed stuff. And I'm just kind of following my own body and my own mind, and like it's helping me raise awareness for a lot of groups. I mean, I'm also like super into like the equality activism side of things. Like I've been to Pride, I've been to like women's marches for 3 years with my mom. My mom's pretty intense. She's a pretty hardcore activist.
That's great.
She's very left wing. She's very liberal, and like she does yoga, so she's like also very, you know, tuned into her internal map, and then like how others, you know, because she says in her classes like just do what you like feels best for you, and that can mean like following my whatever poses or not. And
Shavasana feels best for me.
Yeah, I
I
know.
lay there for the
Sometimes
whole
I do
hour and a
that.
half. I'm like, okay, thank you. I was gonna lay down.
I know. Sometimes I'm just like taking a nap.
But, and I think you bring up a really good point. And I think a lot of this stuff, you know, I think what's really cool about this day and age is that people are realizing more and more how individualized things are for themselves. Whether it's like spirituality, sexuality, nutritional needs, mental health stuff. I kind of get more into these ideas of spectrums.
Yeah, definitely.
Like going back to like when we were talking about, like I see the black and white thinking in myself, and I'm like, man, and in my role working with everybody, it's like how do I not pigeonhole people and stereotype and that, but like I just think it's for me it's really good to, and I can see that in the world today, like we're all like getting more tuned into like what works for us. You know, like what works for me.
Non-binary
doesn't.
stuff.
Yeah, non-binary, great. And I think about that all the time, a lot. Like you think about the like diet, say like in the 1950s, you know, the government puts out your nutritional plate, what you should be eating, the pyramid. But realistically, like, yeah, sure, some people that works really well for, and it's fine. Some people it doesn't, you know, and even when you think about dietary trends and stuff, it's the same thing. Like certain things work well for some people and certain things don't. And I think that's a really cool thing. And with the mental health stuff, that's always what bothers me a lot, and it kind of touches on what you were saying, is this whole like there's different reasons for everything. There's different things that something could trigger you but doesn't trigger me, and vice versa. You know, and everything really is so individualized. It's hard, but then there's common traits within like bipolar or something like that. Sure, there's common traits to know, but it doesn't mean that if you're diagnosed with something like that, that it's going to manifest itself in the same way.
In the same way, right.
You know? Or like ways to work with it are going to be different.
You just have to like figure out what's best for you, and that does go for food or for health.
Everything,
needs or whatever.
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that is really good. It's really cool to have you here. And appreciate you taking time. Ms. Kara Kaiser. One thing I want to add in there, if anybody's, I'm not sure the forum this comes out, via video, via audio, but if you want to look for some of Kara's links to like social media and websites and YouTube pages, I'm going to have all that stuff posted on the video YouTube page where this episode is posted. So just go there and you'll be able to follow Ms. Kara Kaiser on social media.
Yup. My tags are Kara Elizabeth Music typically. I just go by my middle name because I feel like people won't be able to remember Kaiser. Kaiser. Cool.
Well, that's a wrap, kiddo. Here we go.
Sounds good.